Hey everyone, it's Eric from firearmtutorials.com, and today I'm going to talk about the Dillon 650. Some things that you should know about it if it's new to you or if you're waiting on one. There's some couple things here and there that took me a little while to figure out, and some just trial and error stuff. I'll try and save you guys some time. But what you're looking at obviously is the 650. I've got it currently set up to do 9mm, and I'm using the Lee dies. I'm not using the actual Dillon ones, which I had a little bit of trouble with at first because the Lee dies seem to be just a little bit too shallow, and I had to screw them down pretty much as far as I could get them. You can see here that I've got the threads pretty much down as far as I can go on most of them. And it's going to take a little bit of trial and error to get the belling right on the powder drop station and things like that. I'm not running the powder check station yet, but eventually I probably will add that. The mounting the thing itself. So I ordered a strong mount, but then I actually chose not to use it because of how high this bench is. I wanted to be able to, when I'm sitting here, I can see, you know, the powder and everything, what's going on. If I had the strong mount, it would have raised the machine up at least another 6 or 8 inches, and then I would have had trouble seeing what was going on. So just make sure that you either set it up to where you're going to be sitting or standing, and then you know, it might help to know how high your bench is if you've already got one. So that was something that was a little bit disappointing for me, but it doesn't make a difference. The only thing I will say about not using the strong mount is when you operate this, you're going to have to use a good amount of force. You can see there it moves just a little bit. Doesn't affect the operation as far as when I'm reloading, but that's why you see I have these 40-pound weights back here, because I didn't want to anchor it to the wall yet, because for one, the wall is concrete, so it would be a little difficult for me to do that. And number two, I may change this top to be a little bit bigger or maybe even a little bit thicker. So I wanted to make sure I did that before I went ahead and anchored it to the wall. And you want to make sure that you know, you're kind of limited as to how you can mount this. With this particular bench, there's the metal bar underneath that this top screws to. So just be careful of you know, where your holes are, and that you can reach underneath there with the bolts and washers and the nuts that go on the end. And also make sure that you have enough clearance for your to operate your handle. Make sure you have enough clearance backwards, and then make sure that you have enough clearance and it's not going to hit the bottom of the table. One of the other things that it took me a little while to notice initially was the in Florida, especially in the summer, there's so much moisture that a couple weeks into having this, I started noticing like a little bit of rust on the dies, on the handlebar here. So I just went ahead and wiped most of it down with like just a CLP before it got too bad, and I think I caught it in time. So something to be aware of if you're in like a really humid environment, especially if you're doing this in the garage. I haven't had any problems with the powder itself getting any moisture in it. That's been feeding fine, but you should always check your powder loads before you run a batch and make sure that it's the same charge that you set it at before, and make sure that it's the same charge you know, time and time again. Make sure that you don't have any deviation there. You might get like 0.1 grain deviation. That's kind of about normal, but anything more than that, you shouldn't have you know, a pretty wide deviation in powder charge. So as far as going with the Dillon specific stuff. I did buy the wrench kit here in the back, which was kind of a little overpriced. I think it was like $30. You get these set of wrenches and they stay here, and then you get the actual wrench to adjust the dies themselves. And really the only reason I got that is because I have a million Allen wrenches in every size imaginable, but every time I need one, I can never find the one I want. So I figured I would just go ahead and buy this since it stays with the machine. And it's worked out for me so far. I haven't managed to lose these. So something to think about there. Like I said, you don't have to use the Lee dies, or I mean the Dillon dies. I've got the Lee dies. Some people use the Hornady ones. You know, as long as they're the same thread pitch and size, they'll work in here. Like I said before, just make sure that when you adjust them deep enough to work with that. As far as the case feeder goes, the case feeder I've got, you'll see up here, is not the official Dillon case feeder. I actually got this on eBay, and I'll give you a better look at it here. So same kind of apparatus. It's a budget reloader one, and it was about, I don't know, $50 cheaper maybe than the Dillon one. And you know, it's pretty simple in how it operates. It just attaches to the tube that goes down here, and then there's a sensor in here that I'll turn it on here. So right now it's spinning. There's no shells in here. Otherwise it would be slowly collating them and dropping them down this tube. But there's a little sensor here. So once the shells are high enough level, see, it pushes this bar out and then it stops running. Obviously until they siphon down there, and then it drops more until it hits that sensor. So I haven't had any problems with that. That's worked just fine. And you know, that should work well for anybody that's used it. I haven't used it for rifle cartridges yet, but I have used it for both 9mm and 45 ACP without any problems. But see, it's just attaches to the tube that comes with it. So other than that, on the 650 specifically, there is a problem if you're loading cartridges with powder really close to the neckline. And I've covered that in a different video as far as how to fix that. And I did a lot of research on that. It involves cutting a spring in here, which I hate doing. I kind of leave that to last resort, but I felt it really needed it, so I went ahead and did that. And I've had no problems with it since. The primer feeder here, which I think is a really cool little feature. You hear the alarm going off there. This is kind of like a well-known trick with this, but it's just kind of a known deal that to add just a little bit of weight to it, put a 45 ACP cartridge on the top of it. And that'll help with the steady feeding of the primers. Other than that, changing the calibers on this can be a pain in the ass. It's not too bad if you just have to change this shell plate. That comes off with just a couple Allen wrenches and it lifts right off. But once you have to change the primer, like from large to small, or you know, change the some of the things to feed different size cases, it takes just a little bit longer. If you're going to do that, like for 45 ACP, instead of taking these out and screwing them back in, I just have a whole separate tool head. So you can just take this whole thing out like so, and then just drop the new tool head in. You'll have to reattach this bar for the powder drop, but it makes it a lot easier, and then you don't have to worry about messing with your dies. And then I actually have a whole separate thing with a different powder in it, so I don't have to go through adjusting the charge every time. I always check it, obviously, before I do a run of ammo, but it makes it a lot easier and takes takes most of the guesswork out of that kind of stuff. So that's the Dillon 650, guys. And, you know, if you get into a good rhythm with this, you can, you know, knock out a couple hundred rounds in like an hour. So if you're really quick, you can do even more than that. I think they claim with the case feeder, you can do up to, it says 800 to 1,000 rounds an hour. I think you'd be really booking it at that rate. But, you know, it certainly beats a single stage press if you're trying to just get a lot of rounds for target practice. So that's about it, guys. And if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching.